Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jambrew, and welcome back to another episode of the Badge Patreon server. Today we got a post-commentary talking about the recent UHC Mirror Mode. Take it away, Future Jam. Thank you, Future Jam. Today I'm just recording this little audio thing to go along with some video stuff. I'm probably showing you like 2x speed courthouse development, maybe? I'm not sure. Maybe Future Jam's decided to show you something else. Whatever. I don't know. I don't know what that crazy bastard's gonna do. Oh, that guy. He's great. He's great. Yeah, today I'm just going to talk about the UHC Mirror Mode that we did not too long ago. Squeeze this in before the videos come out for the next UHC, which we are going to do on Saturday the 27th. And this is probably going to come out on Sunday, so it'll be just after we recorded it, but before the videos have come out. And I just wanted to talk about the Mirror Mode because it was a very enjoyable event, as everyone I think agrees who took part in it. And interesting new format, which I haven't seen happen before. But first I'm just going to talk about the game in general. And as always, when you're talking about UHCs, you want to start off by talking about the team. And it was a great team. I was, I think, on the same team as Dan for the first time, I think. But I was reunited with Frankie Strange, who I was on a team with in season 3 of the normal UHC seasons that we do. And now I was reunited with Danny Boy from the Dragon UHC, which was, I think, basically was Imp UHC 1. Although we didn't call it that at the time. But I think that's what we've got going on now. It's like Imp UHCs and Server UHCs, and they're separate. But anyway, whatever. Yeah, it was a great team. I really enjoyed it. It was nice and laid back, which is what I like in a UHC team. And we had a good start, I think. Good idea. Tactics-wise, we all sort of spread out and did our own thing, which helped us to cover a lot of ground, which I think most teams did. A couple of teams stuck together, but for the most part, I think everyone sort of did their own thing. And that was kind of evidence of how it was nice. It was a nice break to not have to worry about other players, enemy players, for the first hour. That people were comfortable with just going off doing their own thing without the protection of the team. We didn't get any potions. In fact, we were the only team to not acquire potions. All the other teams wrestled with blaze spawners and got themselves some rods and brewed some stuff where we didn't. And then I don't know whether this is a linked fact or not, but we were also, I think, the team that got the most number of diamonds. And I don't know whether that's luck or whether it's specifically because we weren't bothering with fighting the blazes and we're just focused on caving and whatnot. I'm not sure. I don't really know. Because I know Dan found a blaze spawner and he sort of attempted to get stuff from it briefly and they just left it to cave instead. And it was a good decision because we were almost all in diamond chest plates come meet up. Which was great, and I'm looking at the videos of some of the other people on some of the other teams. That was intimidating to see a team that's managed to give 8 spare diamonds to each player for armor. So those were the only differences in team equipment that I saw. I think was that we had a lot of diamonds and no potions, but everyone else was pretty much the same. Looking back at the videos of other teams as well, when we were in meetup, it seemed like we were all fairly hesitant to engage in combat initially, but then I think what broke the deadlock, as it were, was when we started chasing some of the teams that we encountered. So we almost got the ball rolling chasing red team up a hill, but then we got chased away ourselves. But then when it really counted was when we fought green for the first time in the woods, made them run away, and then we kept the pressure on, and they split, and partially due to unfortunate network issues, and partly due to not being able to stay together under pressure, we managed to pick them off and get the first blood. And I think that was the cue for the rest of the fighting to really begin, for people to start knuckling down and actually sink their teeth into a combat rather than dancing around it, you know. Because no one wants to be the first team in a fight, is the thing. And the more UHCs we do, the more educated people are, I think, into those kind of, like, well, it's not tactics really, it's strategy, like general UHC team game strategy. And it's going to be more and more difficult to kind of catch teams in positions which are not good for them, because everyone's going to be more aware of that moving forward. So the green team fight was pretty good for us, to be honest. We got 2 kills out of it. But our first proper encounter with magenta nearly killed us off, basically. Unfortunately, I don't know who it was. I couldn't see on the videos, but Mr. Cave spotted someone as we were approaching their hill. Spotted their name tag, which lost us the element of surprise, I think, because they came over to the slope and we had to attack. I think Dan started attacking. I think he was the first one to throw an arrow or a sword swipe or something. And then, unfortunately, poor Frankie got shot right off using the punch bow that Pink had literally just picked up, I think, off of Deepak's body. And she just got shot straight off and fell to her death and died, which is a real shame. And then it almost happened again with Danny. But I think he didn't fall quite as far, I think. Either that or he'd just eaten an apple. Maybe he'd just eaten an apple and the regen saved. I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember why he survived where Frankie died, but he almost died. At the time, I was trying to aim to get a bow shot in, but I couldn't really until Pink and Cheese came around to attack Dan, and then I got some good hits on them, and then Pie came dancing across at one point, and I managed to nail him once or twice. In general, I was quite pleased with my bow shots this season. Thought I was pretty good, pretty accurate. Not mentioning this supremely lucky shot on him. Well, I'll get to that. But speaking of Bob, I actually think his intervention. Well, at the time, I thought maybe his intervention had saved us, Danny and I, as the last 2 members alive. But in actual fact, they were losing the will to fight as well. They had sort of backed off a bit and were having a group huddle. Whereas I thought at the time they were preparing to jump down and finish us off. But so there you go. You never really know what's going through the other team's mind when you're fighting them. You know, you can always guess, but so I thought Bob's intervention is when he was invisible, 2-shot Cave with his bow and then ran off again, which was genius. I loved seeing the invisibility potion used offensively for the first time. That was fantastic, and I hope it happens again. That was really good. I'd also like to see it, as much as it would be a lot more dangerous getting rid of that name tag bug where you're able to see the name tag. I would like to see that bug disappear, because poor Bob has been trying to use Minecraft mechanics to win the games, and they always just come around to bite him on the ass. So to encourage others to be creative with their tactics, I think it would be good to see someone use those again, and for it to not be buggy. And then basically from that point on, after Cave got shot by Bob, we just sort of outplayed all the other competitors essentially. We managed to get Danny healed up a little bit. I think we basically when Magenta took off, we pillaged the corpses and managed to get a bit more healing. I got a couple of armor upgrades, I think. So I was in half diamond by that point. And so with me still on full health at that point, still Iron Man, and Danny healed up a bit, we were in a good position health wise, and the other teams weren't, and I think the only, it's dangerous to say the only real competitor was Magenta at that point, just looking at the health perspective, because anyone was a real competitor. Like Bob could have taken us all out solo. He is good, and JT and Raven are more than capable of taking us out. But it just felt in the moment like me and Dan were on a roll. I don't know. It was hard. It's hard to explain, but if we felt like we were on a roll, and that if we could take care of Magenta, we could probably take care of the rest. Which turned out to be true, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we were right in being confident. And in fact, I did panic slightly in that fight with Magenta, because I'm still looking for my first UHC kill. I'm still looking. God damn it. Desperate to get Cheese or Pie, because they are also both on my grudge list. And just didn't manage it. Just didn't quite manage to land that last bow shot that would have killed Pie. And then Raven stole that. Danny got the kill on Bob. Even though he was mere handful of ticks away from dying to my flaming sword. But he put the water down, and then Danny's arrow got him. And then Cheese as well. Danny got him as well. So those were my main chances to kill people, and they were all gone. So I'm still killless, but at least I got a victory now. So I think my record is, it's 1 win and 0 kills, and how many others have I been in? 4. So 4 losses and 4 deaths. So there you go. The format in general I thought was excellent. I thought it was brilliant fun. It's really nice to relax in that first hour and not have to worry about other teams being near you and what they're doing. You could just focus on what you're doing as a team, relax, get into the kind of vibe, because every time you go into a new team, especially if it's blind, and you don't know who you're going to be teamed up with, it can sometimes take a little while just to find your group dynamic and your groove. So it's nice to do that in a relatively stress-free first hour, and then teleported into the meetup world. I really liked the clay forests as well in the meetup world, because obviously Pie and Pie and Poppy and Jack had to get rid of all the resources there, so they just replaced them all with clay. And I think it was supposed to be replaced with wool, I think Pie said, but I actually prefer the clay. It makes the world sort of slightly eerie, because everything's obviously fake. It's just a really weird effect, and I wondered what it'd be like if I went out and actually replaced the surface of a biome on the server with all clay, what that would look like. I'm tempted to do that, but I would need a hell of a lot of clay. I'd have to take out an entire mesa biome, I think, to do that. Anyway, that's just me thinking about server stuff. It still took a little while for the fighting to begin. in Meetup, but the general UHC overall was a lot shorter than previous seasons, which was good. And I think we need to continue trying to keep UHCs as short as that. I think it's going to keep people's interest a bit more. And then for the people, because we're always going to have UHCs in times and time zones where it's awkward for someone somewhere in the world. And then in those cases, the shorter it is, the easier it is on them, I think, and the more likely they are to want to play future UHCs, which is good, because I think, generally speaking, the more the merrier in UHCs. I think it's much nicer to have like 16 to 18 people playing a UHC rather than 12 to 14, you know? More people, more potential ways to split into teams, more potential game modes. I know a lot of people are keen to do a moles one, which I think takes huge teams, doesn't it? Like, you've got to have like 4 teams of 5 people, but one person is a mole, so it's actually 5 fours. Is that how it works? I've no idea. I've never played a moles game before, but I'd like to give it a try. But I have no idea how the teams are actually laid out and what happens. But anyway, yeah, I think we need to keep a focus on pushing people into combat and stopping us from having those like 10 to 12 episode UHCs. And so there's not always going to be a TP to meet up, so we need to think about shrinking borders, which I think is what we're going to have in the next one. But we need to think about, I don't know, other ways to improve the combat experience so that people are more likely to just fight, you know, and not jump around and avoid people and go caving and stuff. So, yeah, thinking about anything to improve the Mirror Mode game mode, I don't know. It depends on what aspect you're trying to enhance, really. If you're thinking about the PvP, I can't really think of any additions or changes to the game other than thinking about what terrain is in the meetup area, because a lot of people have said since that they didn't like the ice spikes. I quite enjoyed the ice spikes from the perspective that it gave you fairly frequent places to take cover for bow fights. I thought it was quite good for bow fights. And I actually think it was the hills that the ice spikes were on that was slowing things down, and all the valleys and the ice and water and stuff like that was slowing people down, moving across the map. If people were able to move across the map quicker, if it was just an ice spikes in plains, it would have been a different story. So maybe if we're, you know, in the mirror mode, obviously there's no backing down from the fact that it's a highly customized map. So maybe think about going the extra mile and customizing the meetup area even more, like specifically making sure that there's some planes in there to speed up movement. Maybe slap a bit of a jungle in there, because that'll sort of break people's ability to see far across the map, like sort of a block's line of sight, you know. Maybe split the meetup area into quarters so that each team is TP'd into a different biome. So have one in like a desert or a deserty hills, and one in a swamp, and one in ice spikes, and I don't know, something else, some other biome. Anyway, that's just something to think about for PvP side of things. If we wanted to change up the PvE game, going back to what I said about how basically all the teams except our team were decked out in pretty much the same standard of stuff, enchantments and amount of diamonds and potions. If we wanted to see more variety in what people have managed to equip themselves with, just a bigger area in the first hour, bigger area to explore, you know, more surface to have structures spawn on and people might miss, more places underground to get diamonds, I know there was some dungeons and stuff put in. I don't know if the stronghold was specifically copied in. I can't remember, but you could do some funky stuff with dungeons and strongholds. But in general, I thought it was a very nice game mode, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what Imp produce in the future. And speaking of which, we do have the Love at First Sight UHC this Saturday, which is probably yesterday from people watching this video now. If you watch it when it comes out, which you should, because you're all my lovely, 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 lovely viewers. Of course. Nudge, nudge. Yeah. And it's all sort of inspired me to... I went back and had a look through my stats, to see what my success rate is in UHCs and things like that. Because obviously I've got no kills, but I've got 1 win now. And that led to me looking at sort of the stats for everyone. And some of those stats are already on the subreddit, and some of them I had to go back and watch videos for to see sort of who killed who. And it's all renewed my idea that I had ages ago of making a new UHC monument for new spawn. Because we have got one at old spawn, but I don't know if it's actually updated or not. I don't know how often people actually pass through old spawn anymore, except to portal to portal. I don't know how many people actually spend time there anymore. So, yeah, I had this idea for a UHC monument where creating this kind of big shrine or mausoleum kind of thing, or maybe like a graveyard thing, or maybe having a shrine and then steps down into like a crypt underneath, which is good because then you can just expand it. Like the more people come onto the server and take part in your UHCs, you can just expand it downwards and make even bigger crypts and catacombs and things like that, and monitor all the stats that way. You could even have, if Pi was willing, because I think you can spawn stuff in like that, we could even have like a top 5 kills leaderboard and a top 5 wins leaderboard with people's heads stuck on there, next to their names and things like that, just for a bit of glory. And then each person could have their own like little grave or tomb or whatever with their personal stats in it, and then there'll be like things up on the walls with the specific event stats and blah blah blah. I just scribbled all my thoughts down into a notepad document, and I've got that sitting there. It's like a UHC monument ? Kind of thing. So that's all I'm going to ramble on about today, folks. Thanks for sticking with me and having a little listen. If you did, I try not to do post commentaries too often because I like to interact with what I'm actually showing you on screen. But they are good when I just want to dump a whole load of thoughts on you at once and see what comes of that. So back to normal. Next episode, I'm going to be working a bit more on the courthouse. Hopefully just finishing off the exterior completely in terms of blocking it out. There'll still be details that need to be added, but just getting walls on it and stuff, and then maybe moving on to the interior as well. And then after that, back onto more desert stuff, because I'm really inspired with the desert stuff recently. So I really do want to get back into that. So, thank you very much for watching, or for listening, as maybe the better thing to say. And I shall see you in the next one. Goodbye!